Welcome to the Bottom Line Podcast, where we say what we mean and we mean what we say, because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line. Today's guest is a pioneer in the real estate game, Manhattan real estate to be specific, all right? Before real estate, my guest has spent at least 5 years helping the national director of marketing at major companies like Universal Music Group, Warner Music Group, and then he did casting for major broadcasters such as MTV, A&E, and NBC. And this gave him the opportunity to travel and hone his ability to read people, right? So if you're in the sales game, one of the things that you're going to need to focus on the most is how to build relationships and how to read people, okay? And my guest today is a pro at that, and this is just how he got his feet wet before he even got into real estate. Once he got into real estate, though, he really started pursuing his passion, right? Now, he considers himself a workaholic. Some people call you and they pen you a workaholic. This guy is a self-proclaimed workaholic. He's going to work until he doesn't want to anymore, right? He lives in the future, and he took some time out to, be a guest on the podcast in the present tense. And we're going to send him back to the future after this podcast, right? And that's what conversations with him are like, or has been like the last time we had a conversation, right? My guest has worked in the real estate for nearly a decade in both New York City and South Florida, and has developed a stellar reputation as a results-driven, client-centric broker. All right, he focuses on fostering relationships and managing expectations, streamlining transactions, and harnessing clients' buying power. Those are pretty much a forte of his strengths. Okay, and today we're going to really center our conversation around how he does that. Okay, so again, welcome to the Bottom Line Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Desmond Eaddy.
Thank you very much for having me, Gene. I appreciate the opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. Call me Jacques. Everybody calls me Jacques, right?
Got it.
Yeah. So look, I want to give a little bit of history of how we met, you and I, right? I was working I was actually scared to work out of the Mercer office because I thought I would get into a fight with somebody over there. Right? And that's the way it was.
That's Mercer Bond. That's Bond, New York, originally.
Right,
that was a long time ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. And let me tell you, when I walked in there, I came from the Chelsea office. Chelsea office was a little bit more laid back, and it was more sales driven. And the environment at the Mercer office just didn't sit still. It was like constant in and out of the office. Nobody really sat down at their desks. Everybody was standing up at the phones. It was a lot of activity, and it was all team centered. I previously had a bad experience at Manhattan Apartments with being on a team. And when I went to the Chelsea office, I felt a little bit good over there, but there wasn't enough activity for me. So one of the people that stood out to me was you, as a matter of fact, because you seemed to be really laid back, but then you also had a lot of activity going on around you. And with all the commotion, you seemed like you were in your zone. You seemed like you weren't affected by the activity. You were still like, dialing, and you were still pointing and calling shots. I think you were building your team at the time, and you seemed just really laid back, even tempered, and you were not affected by any of the chaos. You just seemed real cool. And I looked at you once or twice, and I was trying to figure out what your vibe was like, and you just gave me a simple head nod, and you went back on your phone call, and that was your vibe, right? So, yeah, man,
Wow.
you were just a really laid back, cool dude. I remember that.
There's not a lot of people that I still know, from that time. It seems like such a world ago,
Yeah. Tell me about it.
But I enjoyed it. In fact, one of the young ladies out of that office that I actually looked up to, Hikaru.
Okay.
She's actually at Compass as well.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's random that I ran into her in the streets because for years in training teams and training agents, I always mentioned her as part of my speech. Like, there's this awesome agent, and she was so great with follow up, and people just stuck with her because her follow up was incredible, and her name was this. And so it's funny to be in the office and then be like, hey, what's up, Hikaru? Hey, by the way, this is who I was talking about. Yeah. It's great.
Yeah, it was a good vibe out of that office. It was a really good vibe out of that office. So let's get a little bit into you, man. How you been doing with this whole pandemic and shifting and all?
Man, I'm gonna tell you, I'm blessed because I have a little bit of space at home, and I was able to kind of carve out a little corner in my in my crib for a little office that wasn't previously being used. I'm a big believer in there's always something productive to do. So after binging on, let's say, Netflix for the first 5 or 6 days, realizing there was nothing else on, I got into figuring out, what's gonna, what can I do to like improve my game and improve my business, and it wasn't hard to figure out because there's always something productive to do. And I just spent the time getting, licensed down in Florida, relicensed down in Florida, because my team, just out of the demand, they want to operate in Florida, and we have clients that are looking in Florida, including myself.
Nice.
For investment properties, and so we've been actively kind of dotting the I's and crossing the T's to get that started.
Right.
We'll be there in towards October of this year.
Yep.
And we'll be fully operational down there.
Nice.
And so it's really exciting. It's like a new market for the movement team.
Nice.
And we're really excited. The demand is definitely there.
Right.
And the opportunity is there. And it's a new place to set up, more team members. And then some of the team members that we have are actually already operating down there already.
Wow.
We have them top to bottom, literally from Orlando down to Miami. We got 3 of our team members already down there. So they're doing it, as investment. They're working with investors right now, but everybody's in the process of being licensed, and so it's a kind of an exciting thing because Miami's an awesome place.
What? Forget about it. Yeah, I love to hang out down there with you, man. At some point, let's go back a little bit, man. So you're originally from California, right? From Oakland, California, right?
Yeah, I'm definitely born and raised in Oakland, and funny enough, I spent every summer since I was old enough to fly in New York.
Get out.
So my mom used to ship me back to my grandmother's house and my aunt's house, and I spent 2 months in the summer there. So kind of like a summer camp. I got to hang out with cousins in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, when it was really different back then.
Okay.
And so it was great because I kind of got to see both sides. I wasn't like, I was like, let's say middle class in California, but having the experience of like, coming back to other family members who weren't as well off, didn't have as much opportunity, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Really helped me to maintain focus and be like, no, I gotta, take advantage. I gotta be able to do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for me, that was, even the simplest stuff like, graduating high school, because I was a knucklehead.
Yeah, you and me both, man. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but no, everything was beautiful. I mean, I spent a lot of time in New York, and it was only natural that when I got, of my own ways and means for me to, to move out here and to experience it. Summers in New York are, it's just different.
Yeah, different. It's crazy, right? So how old were you when you finally decided to be only in New York?
Well, fully in New York, it was early 20s, like 22. So I was, I did the whole try to do the college thing. That didn't work.
Yeah, not for you, huh?
Yeah, not really. I basically ended up, I started in entertainment. And so when I was in, when I was in high school, I basically managed a record pool, and I did, music marketing. When different, talent would come into town, it would be my responsibility to get them to radio or to get them, X, Y, to this place, to that place.
Right.
And then, naturally you kind of grow out of your little neighborhood, and I went and moved to New York, got a desk job at Def Jam.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was cute. Shout out to Rob Love and Anthony Vines.
Really? Okay.
Kevin and Leora, really, yeah. But no, basically entertainment, hip hop entertainment was different back then. It was in the era of, all these streaming services were taking a lot of money out of the from the labels.
It was the beginning of it all, right?
It was the beginning, yeah. So so declining revenues were just like starting to be absurd, and so I
Right.
had to broaden my appeal.
So is it fair to say that that was your first introduction to automation and
Well,
streamlining?
well, I would say that I learned. I'll tell you. You know what's funny? Here's the funny story.
Yeah, talk
And
to
I'll
me.
never here. I'd actually have to ask one of my partners, Sabra, because I forgot the gentleman's name, but I remember being at West Third Common. I was right
Okay.
around the corner from Bond, the
Yeah.
little
From the office. Yeah.
whatever bar, yeah, a
The
little
bar, right?
hangout spot, the
Yeah.
bar. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. The bar.
And yeah, I remember one of the agents, and again, this was when I was like just trying to figure it out. Like I just knew people were getting money around me, and
Right.
I'm just like, nobody's gonna, I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
what I
I'm
mean?
gonna get
I'm a
money
little
too. Yeah.
I'm gonna get money too. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like if they can get it, I definitely can get it.
Right. Right.
And so anyway, what ended up happening was I heard about this guy, or I finally met him. But what he was doing was he was running ads on Craigslist for Stuytown.
For what?
And for
Oh, for
Stuytown.
Stuytown. Okay.
Yeah, and
Stuytown
so
was just getting
apparently,
started back then too.
yeah, and it was like they were giving away, OPs. They were paying brokers or whatever.
Right.
And so what he would do is he would just meet people like a couple blocks away, and he was like had all these ads up and da da da
Right.
da. But he had all VAs doing it.
Oh
And I
wow.
was like, oh,
Yeah.
interesting. I was
Right.
like, that's the business. So all you really have to do, all of that, like building ads, go preview,
Yeah.
doesn't have to happen. All you got to do is really,
Yeah.
set up a
Market.
process.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And have somebody else do it. And
For
so,
for people
yeah.
that don't know, Stuytown when I started out was like I wanted to get my feet wet in Stuytown too. And what people don't know about Stuytown is that it was actually starting to be the development in a less desired neighborhood, right? And so what was your experience like with that whole thing with the virtual assistants in it? Because I wasn't familiar with VAs at that time. And as far as I'm concerned, I was like running around with a camera and I was just trying to take pictures and get my ads on
Let me tell you,
Craigslist.
it wasn't that quick. I'm gonna tell you, it wasn't that quick. It took a lot of like trials and tribulations. I learned about it there, and then it took a couple of years to like implement. Remember, I'm building a whole business. Like I don't
What
even
year
know
is
what to
this?
do.
What year would you say that was?
Yeah, I got to check my broker's license. You know what I mean? Like literally.
Yeah.
Or we
Okay, we'll
gotta
say
have
like
cyber-
early, like 08, 09, maybe 09, right?
No, it'll be like 10. It'll be like 10.
2010. Yeah. Right
2010.
around
Yeah,
there.
it'll be like 2010. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. So 2010. There's the
There we
answer.
go.
So
Just to give people
yeah,
like an
so
idea how hard it was.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, it's like it was literally first year. So the first year, first 7 months, I didn't make $1. I
Not a
was like, it
dollar.
was a
Right.
complete fail. I
Yeah.
showed up every day. I had the keys to the office in 2 weeks. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because I was there so early. Douglas was like, I don't want to be accountable. I don't want to be responsible for being late. This kid is always here like 7:45.
Just give them the
I'm gonna let
keys.
him open it. Just give him the keys.
Right.
So I had the keys. So I'm like, all right, I got the keys. I'm
Yeah.
in here. I can transact.
Yeah.
But it took a lot of time to just kind of like go, and learn the inventory because New Yorkers, they're not gonna little bummy looking dude like me running
They
around
don't
in
trust
t-shirt
anybody. Right.
they ain't gonna trust me.
Right. That's right. It's
And
just fact.
I can't even believe how much people were paying for apartments at that time anyway. So it's
Crazy.
double hard for me to sell. I gotta go there and really believe it,
Yeah. With an
And
OP on top of it, right?
Yeah, it's like
Yeah.
I always well, that's different, but the bottom
I hear you.
line
I
is
hear you.
like
Yeah.
my first deal, I went and I bought an electric bike. And
I
because
remember
knew
that. Right.
Yeah,
I remember you and the
yeah.
bike. That's right.
Yeah, the yellow bike, that was like a school bus yellow, but I
No.
loved it. It was literally my first check. I was staying with my cousin at the time.
Yeah.
And so I was supposed to, I don't know, contribute to rent or something. I don't know. But like
Put some
when
money
the
up.
check came,
Yeah.
I was like right to the bike. 'Cause I was
Yeah.
like, hold up. I know that as long as I get this bike, there's gonna be many more checks to come because I'm gonna get
There it
twice
is.
as efficient. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And
Invest in
then
yourself.
and then it it pretty much took off. I ended up partnering with encouraging still to a good friend of mine till today, and business partner literally, the receptionist
Sabra. Yeah, I remember. So she was just coming in from Paris, I think, France, right?
Yeah, so she was in south of France, whatever, came to
Yeah.
try to figure out how to do real estate. They stuck
Right.
her in a receptionist job. So I'm like, hey, read this book.
Yeah.
So it's funny. She ended up reading that book. I think she was either the first or second team member. I think it was like 2 at the same day. Like
Is that
whenever she
right?
got licensed, I
Okay.
also had bought my boy over Ronnie because I'm
I
like,
remember
okay,
Ron. Yeah.
I was like, now I figured out how to get money.
Right.
Now I need my team.
Yeah. You need some legs. You need more legs.
And,
Yeah.
and that's it. And so, and then, we went through that. We went through a lot of like understanding from the ground up,
Yeah.
exactly what it is. My stint on a team was very short,
Right. Yeah.
and so it was a lot of like self-learning.
Right.
And I loved every single minute of it.
Nice.
I love the whole process.
Nice. Okay. So how did you get to a place where you transitioned from rentals into sales? Because now you're in the sales game, right? And you focus both. You do both. Some people would just do one or the other, and you seem to be really good at doing both.
Yeah. Well, what ends up happening is that like once you can have a strong team around you, it's really them. You know what I mean? My ability to delegate and to, and give away, to have this landlord that I made a relationship with, but be able to give it to somebody else and have them execute based on my, suggestion, advice, tools, techniques, you know what I mean?
Right.
Then it just allows you the ability to receive more. Now, there's definitely more. There's always more clients than you can deal with. You know what I mean?
For sure.
And so that's why you end up having to get more and more people and trying to be more and more efficient. But, dealing with relationships, if you talk about the business, it comes to you. You know what I mean? They just want to understand exactly how to get it done.
Yeah.
And I'm refusing more meetings with people that aren't like really pre-qualified yet because there's just so much traffic.
Gotcha. Let me ask you a question about, so you got two kinds of customers, right? And I have this conversation a lot with clients. And it's like, it's an ongoing conversation because, the climate changes a lot, right? So you got two things. First thing you said was you were not trusted. Douglas gave you the keys, but you have clients that didn't really trust you, right? Because you're probably seem like a hustler, right? So you have to gain, you had to gain some trust there. But then you also seem to be growing your team. Like I remember when I met you, you were growing your team and you were really like, you were hands-on, but you seemed pretty laid back. You weren't like a tyrant. Go do what I tell you. You were kind of like helping people along the way. And that was just your team. But then some people would come to you that weren't on your team. They'd ask you. I remember Douglas used to do morning meetings a lot. And you used to always have some input. So how did you gain first your clients' trust? And then how did you gain your team members' trust also?
That's a good question. Team members' trust is the better question. The clients is easy because here's the thing. If I go see, let's say 15 3-bedrooms under $6,000 in the East Village and tomorrow morning, right? I'm the expert. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
because you see
you saw something? Yeah, I've seen them all. So it's like, oh, what do you know about this, that? I've seen them all. When, I always tell that to my clients too. Like I don't know. I think they don't believe me, but the reality is I've been in the streets. I've been in every single building. Whatever unit you're going to go into, chances are I've been in that unit. You know what I mean? And so when you can just like intimately describe, where the kitchen is going to be before you walk into the apartment or what direction the window is facing, or you can tell them that like, yo, we're going to get the keys from this crazy guy across the street. He's going to be on a milk crate, but don't worry. He's chilling. It's all good. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's called access.
Like,
yeah.
It's like it's access. And we're going to sign the leases. It's going to be in a carpet store. In the back of a carpet store, but like, it's all good.
Yeah.
Those agents that tune in, they know who I'm talking about too.
Dang. Right.
So it's like, it's about managing clients' expectations, and if you manage them from inception, you're never going to have a problem with them later.
Gotcha. Now, what about the team? What about the team now? Because now you're dealing with people who you're kind of responsible for their ability to earn an income, right? Or that's how they may see it before they start.
That's good.
That's
a good kind of like determination and differentiation.
Yeah.
But what ends up happening is that like one of my team members that I brought on real early on, Ronnie Barron.
Yeah, I remember Ronnie.
He was actually, he was on my team when I was doing music in Cali. So when I was working, servicing, you know, mix shows and, you know, Cameo, whatever record pool, he was working with me then.
Gotcha.
So he had actually had, you know, a little bit of experience with me and how that worked, and everything was, you know, great.
Right.
We've had the time of our lives, you know what I mean? And so moving into the trust with, you know, kind of like bringing other people on, I mean, I guess, you know, Sabra kind of jumped out on a limb and kind of like trusted me. But it's not that hard because you see kind of how I am. If you see me every day at 7:45, you know what I mean? Coming in 7 days a week,
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, you got to figure it out some point.
Yeah.
And then eventually, you know, clients start coming in, you start servicing clients, transacting. It only grows and grows and grows.
Yeah.
I consider myself like, for me and my team, I put like all of the clients and stuff like that. I give them all the clients first. I only like service clients at this point, and definitely in the last, like, I don't know, a few years. It's like, even back then, from inception, it's like, it's always like, hey, who do you want? You want it? You want it? It doesn't really matter. So other people would be like, I don't know, hoarding leads or like,
I've been through that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't even subscribe to that, like in the slightest, because for me, I'm like, where I'm at now, I'm all about like basically building for my team and trying to automate and make everything more efficient.
Yeah.
And so like I would like, you know, I could run a client today right now, you know, but like that's not what tickles my fancy.
Gotcha.
What I have simple pleasures, you know, updating, you know, getting DocuSign fully functioning, you know, like that type of stuff.
Right. Where you're most effective. Yeah.
Yeah. I like definitely streamlining everything and making it more efficient for everybody that's on the team, so that they don't have to waste time doing dumb stuff.
Yeah.
You know?
I hear you.
I don't even want them building a listing on StreetEasy. I want them to be able to download the information and have it done for them. You know, and that goes for responding and qualifying and all of that stuff as well.
Nice. So like, here's the thing too, right? Because so a lot of what I do too, I'm with people from the inception too, like you said, from startup to scale, right? And what I see that's happening a lot is, have you seen The Wolf of Wall Street? Have you seen that movie?
Yeah.
I remember the scene where Jonah Hill walks up to him at the cafe, at the diner, and he looks at the car and he's like, you know, you live in my building, right? Or we live in the same street. I think that's what it is. They live in the same street. He says, how much money do you make? And then Leo says, I've got, you know, last month I made 70,000, right? And he says, he pulls out, he says, show me a check with 70,000 and I'll quit my job right now, right? And so he does that, and then he quits. He calls and he makes the call and he quits. A lot of people are under the impression that that's how they're going to get, you know, team members. That's how people are going to come to them. You know what I mean? People are just going to see how they're living, and they're going to see how, you know, their image and how they present themselves. And they're like, well, I can't you know, get the right people or attract the right help. I can't attract the right people. How did you attract the people on your team when you were at Bond? And now you're at a different place where you're at Compass, where it's a higher end, you know, real estate office, and you're still building your team, and you're expanding out to Florida. It sounds like not just Florida like Miami, but you're from Orlando to Florida. So that's
a major point. It's a lot.
Tell me about your process, your selective process. How do you pick the right people to join your team?
Well, I give everybody a shot. If you invest in yourself and you show up, I'll never fail you. I will always show up and I will support you 100%. I've had kids, I'm not going to name any names, but they've like messed up incredible amounts of money. Like people like just, it was really incredible amounts of money, like consistently, you know, like day after day. I'm not talking about like one client, you blew a big deal. There's those guys too, right? But I'm talking about like, over the course of a week, it's just like sat there and I'm watching, and I have to let him mess up this money to be able to understand what's wrong. And that takes a different kind of person.
Right.
It takes different because you got to be completely detached from it psychologically. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that, you know, a lot of people, and these same people, they'll all tell you, you know, like there's so much respect. They couldn't do what I did, which is like the fuck up that much.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But like, and even some of the other people on my team, you know, that I'm trying to like, groom. It's like they still don't allow people to mess up that. I'm like, yo, he's gonna mess it up. He's gonna mess it up, but we're gonna see and we're gonna figure we're gonna figure it out.
Right. Nice.
So I mean, I think what's crazy is that like it's very much been organic for years, right?
Okay.
It has to have like, there's some loyalty. I've jumped from brokerage to brokerage, depending on different deals or whatever, and trying to like always get to the best place, which I think I'm at now. But it's like organic, right? People just see that there's traffic, there's a lot. One of the companies I work for, they made a mistake and had a leaderboard. Actually, it doesn't matter. But like, they're not in competition anymore. Yeah, so they're like, okay, then it's like, okay, if we come in, and we're the top, we're right under the top team that's been established at that brokerage for whatever. It's a problem. It's like collectively, I was kind of operating independently. We had two kind of like separate teams at that time, but like if we join forces, we supersede and surpass by leaps and bounds the number one team. So then we naturally got a few people when we ended up leaving. They were like, "Hey, we want to, work with you because, the numbers don't lie. Numbers used to matter then. Now, not so much. Now it's just like, it's what it looks like on social, which is cool too, because we're working diligently to present ourselves in the best light, and we have amazing partners that help to that. I'm not looking, I'm never looking for a bunch of people. I'm just always here to support people like me that started, that, you know what I mean, didn't have the support that, that other people had. And at this point, I'm just trying to get people from A to Z as easy as possible. And in that, the funny part is in that I get paid anyway.
Right.
You know what I mean? In that process, it's like, it's good, you know? So I'm really happy and thankful and motivated to like do deals if there's nobody else that shows up, because I will do the deal. I'll get out on the street, I will do it.
You'll get it done. You're still willing to get it done yourself.
And then I'm happy to just like use these big boy tools to push the ball forward.
Let's get into that a little bit, right? Because this sounds to me like, before we get into that, it sounds to me like, what I call strength-based coaching. You like pretty much assess an individual's strengths, where they're really good, and then you help them probably expand on that a little bit. You allow them the wiggle room, the flexibility to mess up a couple of times so they can learn from their mistakes, even though there are large amounts of money at stake, right? And through that, it probably builds a lot of trust and accountability, right, within the team, right? Because you're willing to let them to go. You give them a certain range of autonomy for them to be able to explore without the hand holding, right? Crash and burn a little bit, but not to mess it up.
Throw them in the water.
Right. And then now it gives you some room for you to continue to build your business and focus on your strengths, right? And focus on what excites you the most, which is growing, right? Expanding, right?
Absolutely.
But then like, so now here's the deal. I remember talking to you the other day and I felt like, I literally had to pull this guy out of the future. It was like you're living on a multiverse. That's what it sounds like to me, right? And on this one-dimensional universe called Earth, right? There's this thing called automation, and a lot of people are having, getting digital, right? And digitizing their business, their platform, whatever it is, e-commerce, however you want to look at it, however it's going to, help your business, right? What you're able to do, what you were describing, is something that I was like, gosh, this guy's like functioning at warp speed, because a lot of people are still transitioning to e-commerce. They haven't really figured out how to just do it yet, or even accept that it's necessary. A lot of people are just starting to transition to like virtual assistants. And it sounds like you've been doing that since 2010, right? So that's 10 years in. Now you're in a different space where you're streamlining a majority of your business. What does that look like? Explain that to us a little bit so we have an idea of what you're doing now.
So there's a lot of capable talent all over the world, right? There's money is different in different places of the world, right? And so what I do is I basically try to kind of bridge the gap. I pay people to do the work that takes time. So what does that mean? I put together, like I have an Excel sheet, 20 line items, right? Okay. On each line item is a specific task that needs to be done that affects my business that takes time. for me to do, right?
Yeah.
Because what we're ultimately doing is we're selling our time, right? So like, what does that look like? That means that like, if I get an exclusive, okay, dispatching the photographer to go shoot and get a video of it, putting the exclusive on not only, I don't know, Street Easy, The Times, Compass, you know, announcing it through our team, but also through social media as well, which is a very, very important touch point, right?
Yep.
And so having that, so being able to basically send a contract with a detailed video. There's tools like Instacast, and you can record a video of you doing whatever the task is,
nice,
and then throw it in the Excel sheet. There's companies like Upwork where you can go, you know, post whatever it is you want and find, you know, different types of assistance to get that done across the board. And they range anywhere from the, I don't know, depending on the level of work you need or whatever, anywhere from like $5 an hour to like whatever, 100, you know, depending on what you need automated, you know? And so having that, you know, is just like one line item in the thing that just like for my agents, it saves them a lot of time. They send a signed contract over, they already know where to pull it up in the CRM, and then they can see the whole conversation that happened with that client. They can rip the pictures out from wherever it is, I don't know, Lease Break or wherever they got it from, you know what I mean? And then we can post it temporarily on the site, dispatch the photographer. They have the capability of calling. They, you know, I set up phone calls for them so they can call my photographer. I don't need to be there. I don't need to, I just need it done immediately. You know what I mean? And that's that. When it comes to actually posting the listing, for my landlord, I don't know how many people can say this, right, in the industry, but like for my landlords, I can receive 100 inquiries at one time, you know, and talk to them all within 2 minutes, and prompt them all to schedule an appointment. You know what I mean? And so there's a lot of different like,
that's impressive,
bots.
man.
It is, and it's like, and it's even, what's even more impressive is it's very much real. You know, the qualification process that we do digitally is basically, you know, when are you looking to move out? Is the property vacant or not? Have you notified your landlord? Like all the like real relevant information that you need.
They're just checking boxes. Is that what it is? They're just checking boxes, drop downs. They're just texting. Okay.
They're texting. So it's like half the time, well, less than half the time they don't know that it's not a real person.
Got it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you know, what ends up happening is that once we get the qualifying information, then we're able to call them, have an intelligent conversation about their search for real, know, and then immediately deploy, you know, other agents or assets, whatever, to help execute getting done whatever it is they need.
Got it.
And so I'll tell you a funny story real quick about Skytown. Is that like when I first implemented this, I actually I showed up to my office and it was, I don't know, 8:30, and there were people in my office already. And it was a Sunday or Saturday or Sunday or whatever. Anyway, the robot basically, because we had, well, pre-COVID, we had everybody come to the office. But basically the robot, somebody messed up some timing and scheduled somebody to come in before 9 a.m. So I literally had these clients waiting there to see something in Skytown, hopped in the car with them, showed them one apartment, back to the office. It was done. Didn't speak to the client at all. Was with the client probably a total of 1 hour. You know what I mean? And for me, that was like super successful. I was like, I didn't even have I didn't communicate with them last night. I didn't schedule them to come in. I didn't tell them where to come.
Fully automated.
They literally fully automated. I just needed to walk them into the property. And I literally, tell you the truth, I called an Uber there. Got an Uber to start up, and back, and it was a wrap.
Nice.
Like, that's what success looks like for me at this time. It's not doing a deal. It's doing a deal like that.
It's like, that's exactly, I think, where a lot of people want to be right now, but don't know how to get there. You know what I mean? Especially with COVID being the way it is, and brick and mortars is like a lot of uncertainty, and you don't know, should I be in the office so I can get more people to come in, or should I be, you know, virtual? I'll probably lose some of my leads. I'll probably lose a lot of potential business if I go virtual, if I digitize my business, and there's a learning curve also. So it sounds to me like you like it, it excites you, you're comfortable with it. But what do you say to people who have to make that change and they don't know how to do it? What are some benefits from doing that? For me, I think you just having to be in two places at once is like one benefit, but you're doing it more than I am. Like you're fully automated and on the way to become more fully automated. So what do you say to people?
I mean, I say that there's always going to be disruption, right?
Yeah.
As a business owner, as an entrepreneur, which truly you are in real estate, even though there's like a little path and a little guidance on the agent, but the way you carve out your business is truly like your own, your own way.
Right.
But you have to embrace these changes. The first person to get it done correctly, or has a lot of opportunity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've done it annually, ever since I've started. I've analyzed my business at the end of the year. I'm like,
Nice.
Okay, what can I do better? Not even necessarily from a financial standpoint, you know what I mean? But from like an efficiency standpoint.
Nice.
Because everything else will follow, So I'm like, what can I do better? We've seen the shakeup with Craigslist charging like nothing to like whatever, $10 or whatever they are.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've seen the naked apartments and the purchase of Street Easy.
Oh man, throwback, naked apartments.
So that's what I'm saying. So like that crippled, that like ended a lot of people's career.
Sure,
I'm like, how are you gonna be out of the business because Craigslist, stopped allowing you to post for free?
Yeah.
You gotta find out the next avenue.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so it's always about constantly investing in research and development, and I do it a lot, and it's a lot. And even some of my team members are like, yo, you wild. And I'm like, but nah, because we have to figure out, what's going to be the next sauce. And so, there's other assets that we'll be releasing that help people understand the process of remote renting.
Right.
And even for those that want to, go play broker themselves, we got some assets that we're going to be launching to help them do that as well.
Nice.
So it's gonna be, this is it's a crazy year, but it's a beautiful time.
So what do you think about, we're coming into the third quarter, July, we're coming into the third quarter, and I think a lot of people start to, business starts to pick up. Pre-COVID, third quarter is like, yo, we're gonna, let's really grind. Let's, pedal to the metal, right? Because you want to be prepared for the holidays, and hopefully you want to take that extended vacation, right? And have things automated while you're chilling on the beach or something, right? Maybe in another country or somewhere else, right? So what do you think the next 3 months looks like where you're at in Manhattan, as far as rentals and sales?
Well, here's the thing. It's gonna be nuts.
It's gonna be
because
nuts.
I think we talked a week ago and you're like, hey, what's it looking like? And I'm like, gotta ask me next Monday. I think it's like next Monday, right? So the answer is it's that client inquiries have increased 1,000% in the last 48 hours. There's definitely clients out there. A lot of agents are not showing. And so it's a grab fest, to tell you the truth. I mean, there's no shortage of clients that are looking to, schedule and view apartments, whether it be digitally, remotely with a video or in person, and we've actually onboarded 2 people just for call center scheduling, just to do that, just to deal with the influx of inquiries. But we're expecting, the busiest third quarter in my career, basically.
Really? Okay. So it's like just pent up need right now, right?
Pent up demand.
Yeah.
For sure. And even honestly, there's so much pent up demand, and there's so little agents, and there's so much inventory.
No, there's a lot of inventory. Okay.
There's these landlords. I've seen like some of these landlords' beach lanes list is the longest it's ever been.
Yeah.
So I've seen it.
I think that's something that we need to emphasize, right? Because right now, what I'm hearing a lot is a lot of people want to leave. They want to leave the city. They want to go to the burbs. And I'm hearing a lot of people, who are actually saying no. Maybe people of a certain age range, families want to leave because they need more space, but you still have like the creatives, content creators, you have freelancers, you have people who still want to, get into apartments in the city. So that's what you're experiencing right now, you're saying, right?
Yeah, I mean, I see like a lot of people. So you'll have one person moving out that's been at the company for 10 years or whatever, and they're moving to work from home and wherever they are, right?
Right.
But then you'll have another person from Pennsylvania kind of like waiting to get into the city, now going to take that position in, at that same company.
Got
So
it.
it's just a cycle,
Yeah.
Right now, the thing that's a little bit different is definitely the shares.
Okay.
There's not a lot of people that are feeling comfortable moving in with new people that they don't
Sure.
know.
Yeah, with the COVID and all, right?
Yeah, with the COVID, but
Right.
New York is very resilient, and we will definitely get through this.
Yeah.
And if it's in 12 months or 18 months, it's fine. Because we have all of that much time to just be better.
Nice. Nice.
And I'm excited for that.
And let's talk about Florida a little bit. Let's talk about how you're gonna. So it sounds like New York is gonna sustain itself. It's gonna be self-managed. It's fully automated. You got a lot of activity there, and you probably gonna be
a lot of experience.
A lot of experience. Yeah. You're streamlining your pipeline. So it's for the next maybe 6 to 9 months. You're gonna be extremely busy, right? So that probably frees up some time for you to focus more on Florida. What's the market like out there? Like if people want to make that move, because I'm talking to people too who want to make that move to Florida because the cost of living is more affordable over there, right? And it's just cooler. Bottom line, it's just a cooler place to be, right?
I mean, the beach is the beach. It's beachy.
So what does the market look like out there now? Like, what are we talking about over the next 3 to 6 months with COVID and everything?
Yeah, I mean, the market is definitely declining there.
Okay.
So what's happening is that COVID foreclosures haven't even hit the market yet.
Really?
They just opened up a month ago or whatever. So I think it's going to be close to December that we'll see those coming online.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely don't have to wait for that because if you're planning to go down there and hold, it really doesn't make that much of a difference.
Mm-hmm.
But the condos are losing. I think they have 24-month supply at least of condos down there. So there's definitely. I mean, it depends on your angle. I think right now there's some amazing opportunities on the beach.
For investors?
For investors. I well, I guess I don't want to date this podcast, but nightly rentals are good. If you can find buildings that allow that in Miami, and there's only a handful of them, and if you can buy at the right price in there, they're good. The price is going to vary per neighborhood. Downtown Brooklyn, you want to probably spend right now under $200 a square foot if you're planning on flipping or whatever.
Okay.
But when we're doing nightly rentals, it's a little bit skewed. But there's some great opportunities in the 50s, like the Alexander. There's the Hollywood Beach Resort. Right now, they're redoing. They're about to be bought out by a major whatever. And so that, there's always opportunity in Florida. It's kind of like what you want your angle to be. If you go west of 95, there's a lot of, rental stuff that's, a little bit lower entry price.
Yeah. What are we talking about? Lower entry price. What are you talking about exactly? Like, what are the price points?
I'm looking at one property. I'll tell you the truth. It's not South Florida. It's in Boynton Beach. I'm looking at one property. It's $100,000. It's a 3-1. It needs a full gut. It's a block off of US 1, right across the street, across US 1. There's $1 million condos. The city is supposed to open up an intercoastal waterway.
Yeah.
1 block behind the house.
Okay.
So the appreciation is good. But it's basically an investor that has his money, whatever, looking to get out of it. But I could immediately put in $15,000. And rent it for $1,200.
Nice.
15,000-20,000.
Nice.
And rent it for $1,200. No problems, and the hold is great. So I'm really I really like the short. I like the nightly rentals.
Okay.
I like the Airbnb stuff because you're just getting the most. But you gotta play within the law there because it's a little nasty if you're not.
Yeah. So for I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, so you have to just make sure that the zoning is correct, and the board allows it for you.
Nice. So like an investor who wants to come in is probably, we're talking about your basic investor, junior investor, somebody who's on their way to retire right now, and they probably want to put their property on the market, because I'm going through these conversations in Brooklyn, right? So they want to put their property on the market, and they have a plan. After the property sells, they want to maybe get into a 2 or 3 family or some kind of an investment opportunity in Florida. Anywhere between what you're describing, between Orlando and Miami. What's a good amount of money for somebody to start out with just to get their to have a decent return to get started
I
and
think,
to make a good, decent return?
I mean, it depends on the bank and how you want to do it. I'm always about like as low as possible, right?
As low as possible.
So like, yeah, like I'm probably going to put 15% down on that one that I was mentioning on in Boynton,
Yeah, finance 85%.
Yeah, finance 85% of it. So, and then the rehab loan. So I'm gonna try to get a little bit back there. So
Is
like
it tied
maybe
in?
like an 8. Yeah, well, yeah, they'll always tie them. So
Yeah.
it's like, you could do a 203K loan, but that's not the one we're doing. It's just a regular rehab loan.
Yeah.
And they're comfortable with non-owner ox at like
Nice.
as long as
That's
37.
exactly it.
Yeah, non-owner ox at 15%, as long as 37% of it covers the mortgage or whatever and all that
Sweet.
stuff. So it's like all day long.
Nice. Okay. And then leverage.
So and then maybe in a year, maybe I can, work with the rehab and make it a little bit cheaper, more affordable, and be in for 2 years or a year and a half, be all my money out, and then just be kind of easy street.
Okay, so like a short-term hold.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could hold it for a long time. I mean, Boynton Beach is very developing.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff going on there. They're just building higher and higher. Where it's
Yeah.
like Boca and Del Rey, they like have, I don't know, let's say 4 stories. Boynton Beach is like beating both of them, and they're like, we're going to do 8 stories because we've seen that be successful here.
Right.
So we're just going to bring more in. You know what I mean?
Got it. Yeah.
I just been watching it happen. Like,
Sweet. Yeah.
So, I mean, look, it depends on whatever everybody's strategy is or whatever, but there's always the right time to buy. And what I was going to say was your buyers in Brooklyn, what we do is we offer, if they have enough equity in the house, we'll go ahead and front them the down payment money for their property
No way.
in Florida. We'll even rehab their messed up Brooklyn thing. It's the Compass Concierge program.
Get out.
And so like it makes complete sense. In fact, I'll tell you the truth. I sent it to my aunt this morning. Because
nice. He really believes in this. He sent it to his aunt, just in case you were wondering. Yeah.
Straight up.
Yeah.
I sent it to my aunt. She was like, I was in California a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, yo, what are you gonna do with this house? It's terrible. She's like, oh, I need to like fix the inside, and then we're gonna move to somewhere like New Mexico or something. I don't know. They did the numbers. I was like, all right, that's cool, but like. This situation now, we just allowed it this morning again. They just like opened it back up post-COVID. Really? So now I sent it to her this morning. I'm like, look, let's get you out of there, get you into the place you want to be immediately, and get you more money for the house than you could sell it right now because it's all messed up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And you fake contracting, putting it together here and there for the next
get more
5
value.
Years. That ain't gonna work.
Yeah. No, it's a good idea, man. Because that's a lot of that going on in Brooklyn. There's not a lot of equity, and then you go into those landmark areas where they just need to do some rehab so they can get the market value out of it. It takes a little bit longer, but you make more money. And if you're thinking long term, like you're talking, they're gonna live a better lifestyle when they get to Florida or wherever they decide to go, right?
Yeah, we got all the statistics. It's like I think there was one statistic. It's like for every $100 worth of wood flooring you put, it's worth like $400 on the resale end.
Get out.
But like, don't quote me on that one. It's exact, but it's something like that.
Something like that. Yeah, you got literature to support that.
Compass has all the stats for all that stuff.
Nice,
they keep really good numbers.
Yeah, we'll talk. I probably have somebody that I think will probably work well with what you're talking about.
I'll send you the link, because I have it in my Facebook. I'll send it right over.
Nice.
So it's very self-explanatory. It's very well like legit backed with a super official company, and it makes sense. So.
Yeah. Your aunt, and you got your aunt doing it.
Hey, I got her. I sent it to her this morning. I'm like, let's get out of there. I don't know what's going on in New Mexico, but I'm gonna learn New Mexico just also.
Right. So let me ask you another question, right? Just this is the Bottom Line podcast, and usually there is a reoccurring truth for you. Like, so you've been doing this for as long as you've been doing it, as a human being and also as a professional, right? And there's that reoccurring truth for you. There's something that's always just been your truth that always keeps you focused on your growth, your development, right? And that's your bottom line. What would you say that bottom line is for you or has been for you?
What's the bottom? Something that's always contributing to the growth. It's
always reoccurring. It's your truth. It's like your common denominator. You can lose any deal. You can go through any setback, and no matter what, this truth helps you get right back on track and propels you forward, right? What is that?
Well, for me, in regards to dealing with clients, for me, it's going to be more about just like knowing what I'm talking about. It's very easy now, like there's no mistakes. We made mistakes 8 years ago. You know what I mean?
Right.
Now it's just like, there's no situation that I haven't been with. I've literally, had to value bales of hay, right?
Right.
To qualify somebody for a house, literally.
You went biblical.
Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's like serious, like straight Africa too. It's like the whole daughters are coming to NYU, and we have to like figure out what X amount of bales are worth, and then we have to have the banker sign off on it, and then whatever. So yeah, it's like it's crazy.
That's a story. Yeah.
That is one. Shout out Jacobson Properties, D'Andre. We made that deal. 124 McDougal happened.
We make it happen.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
It's hard to live on McDougal, so yeah, do what you got to do. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But no, I mean the reoccurring. I love what I do. I wake up every day, and I just want to push the ball forward as best as possible. All of my agents that work with me benefit from that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Whether they understand it initially or not, you know what I mean? But they, and I'm just excited to learn new things. You know what I mean? For me, I don't use an alarm clock. I get up every day, and nice. People start calling me at 7, like people overseas or whatever, start 7, 8, 9 is when they start.
Right.
And so I'm usually on a bunch of calls in the morning, but no, it's just about growing, learning, expanding. Right. And making sure that everybody loves what they do. Because if you don't love it, it's a problem.
Get out of it.
We don't we got to figure out some sort of solution.
Yeah. Okay. Quick lightning rounds called hands down. All right. Hands down. This is what it's called. Okay. I'm going to give you five topics, and you tell me what your bottom line is about these topics. All right. Here's an example. When you go to Brooklyn, the best place to get cheesecake is Junior's, hands down. Right? There's no argument there. Okay? You ready?
Okay.
All right.
But wait, I'm a really picky eater, though, just so you know.
He ain't going to go. You got a few options there, man. Right?
Go.
Okay, ready? To live, Cali or NYC?
Woo! I would have to live if I got to pick one of them.
You got to pick one of them.
I got to say, damn, that's going to get me in trouble.
Or if you don't like it, you could say pass. I forgot to love.
Listen, I'm here in New York. I love New York.
Right.
I love Cali also. You know, we might be moving to Cali in 2021. We might be expanding there.
How about that?
But you know, the weather here and the summers in New York are unlike anywhere else.
Got it. Okay. Mike Tyson's comeback. Your thoughts?
Good luck. I hope it works out, but I'm not sure. I'm not the big sports guy.
Gotcha. Okay. City life or suburban life?
I think I would say in the last couple years, I don't know, Austin, some kind of mix between them. You know, yeah. I'm more inclined to say that living outside of the city is better, is just as good for me because I'm not forward facing. I don't have to run outside to go show apartments. I'm more kind of remote. And so I think that a suburban, you know, right now would be an interesting change of pace. Okay.
All right. Marvel or DC?
Marvel?
Yeah.
And I only know from the video games.
Gotcha.
Not really the comic book.
Gotcha. All right. What's a more lucrative business, do you think, a business model, CBD or the cannabis business?
More lucrative business model. Cannabis
all the way, right?
Yeah. You know, I'm from Oakland, California, so
yeah,
I was there when they legalized it.
Got it. Okay. And are you a believer in a single universe or the multiverse?
Probably multiverse.
Multiverse all the way, right?
Yeah.
You got it. My man. Me too. Me and you both, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Any final words? Where can people find you? Where can people find you if they want to get in
Yeah.
contact with you?
You could just go to the movement team. You could pretty much Google MVMT team at Compass.
Okay.
MVMT team at Compass. I think we're the only one. And then, you can definitely reach out to me there. We're always answer the phone, I think 24/7.
Nice.
So that's there. And then we'll also be, look for us, in the near future with the expansion to Florida.
To Florida.
And then we also have, if you just reach out to me on there, I could let you know of, we have like this whole wholesale list.
Nice.
That we're dealing with. So we distribute at least, 25 wholesale properties a week for people to snatch up. And we even have like hard money lenders for it. So, whatever your deal is, and that's from Orlando all the way
down to Miami.
to Key Largo. Yeah.
Oh, to Key Largo. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, we got some properties in Key Largo.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Desmond, it was fun catching up, man. It's been educational for me, to say the least, to learn how you're doing it, and you're doing it at warp speed, and you're teaching it as well. You're building your team, and you're not, doesn't seem like you're negatively impacted by the pandemic. So hats off to you there, right? Continue to look. Well, I'll plug all your information up to this podcast so people can find you online, right? This was the Bottom Line Podcast with Desmond Eaddy of Compass Real Estate, right?
And the movement team.
And the movement team. Can't forget the movement team, right? Hope you guys got some good takeaways from this, right? It's the Bottom Line Podcast where we say what we mean, and we mean what we say. That's right. Because at the core of everything that is, was, and forever will be, there will always be the bottom line.
Thanks, John.